Everyone always asks, what is your bounty? But nobody ever stops to think to ask, how is your bounty? Because bounties have feelings as well. So just keep that in mind because we'll be dealing with some sensitive souls here today. Primarily, because they all kind of suck. Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece, and today it is time to continue our numbers-based exploration by examining the 20 lowest bounties within the series. And unfortunately, we haven't quite resolved our technical dick, but we will be doing our best to proceed anyway. And to be honest, this video was actually a lot harder to put together than the highest bounties list, primarily because no one tends to care about the low numbers and a lot of characters just get lost in the sea of pure mediocrity. So we are here to shine a light on their sea of shame here today. Before we do that though, it's time for another very quick round of Bounty County, a simple minigame, the rules of which are as follows. I am going to present you with two characters and it will be your job to select the one with the highest bounty. If you guess incorrectly, then your strictly enforced punishment will be to subscribe to the Grand Line Review, which will also result in a consistent injection of One Piece culture administered straight into your YouTube feed. And if you do guess correctly, then a Kung Fu Dugong will emerge from behind you in the shadows and punch you in the genitals. But our two characters today are going to be Thrifty Bobbin of the Big Mom Pirates and Korobo, the even more disappointing brother of Caribou. Which of these two has the highest bounty? Well, choose your character now and I shall reveal the answer in 3, 2, 1, and bam, it is Korobo. By quite a lot as well, given that he is worth a whopping 190 million berries, whilst Bobbin only commands 105 million. So if you guessed incorrectly, then well, you know the thing, and please do say hi in the comments down below if you are a new member of the Grand Fleet. Welcome. But let's dive head first into the shame pile now, starting with our 20 lowest bounty in One Piece, which is actually a three-way tie between Arlong, Jesus Burgess, and the Yeti Cool brothers, each of whom have a net worth of 20 million berries. So that should give you a pretty good idea of what we're working with here. Each of these bounties is going to be lower than the highest valued East Blue pirate, which would have been Luffy's initial number of 30 million. Although weirdly enough, the argument can be made that Arlong should have been worth more and that Burgess could be worth more post-time skip. However, the Yeti Cool brothers, well, let's be real, this is exactly where you short wearing snowmen belong. But descending further down our stairwell of stagnation, we now find another tie in 19th place with Don Krieg and Lakuba, both being worth 17 million berries. A very sad number indeed, but very expected of someone like Don Krieg. Although who's Lakuba, you ask? Well, you may best remember him as the dude from the arc who did the thing one time and then was never relevant again. He's a very standard pirate guy thing who was for sale at the auction house on Sabadi, and he has been since freed, so I suppose that his 17 million number is active at the very least. But as for someone who I can definitely describe as highly inactive, in 18th place we discover Captain Kuro, a fancy cat lover, who throughout his illustrious career warranted exactly 16 million berries of Senpai's notice. Senpai being the world government, of course, and the word notice being used very liberally. I mean, Kuro is a pretty cool villain, however the reason why he never quite progressed out of the rookie realm is quite clear, and it probably has something to do with the master plans of, you know, becoming a butler for 3 years and then waiting for all of your charges to die of natural causes so as to quote-unquote steal their fortune. Because that is always the crazy thing about Captain Kuro. He did not actually kill Kaya's parents, he just waited for them to die of natural causes. He is truly a terrible pirate. Really good butler though. But admittedly, Kuro is still probably better than number 17.
Buggy the Clown, ladies and gentlemen, also known as the single greatest pirate to ever sail the 4 blues and the Grand Line combined, is only worth a paltry 15 million berries in the One Piece story. This is of course because the world government only found out recently just how awesome Buggy is. He was an apprentice pirate on Goldie Roger's crew back in the day. Honestly, I think the reason Buggy's bounty is so low is he simply lacked the ambition of Shanks. He didn't want to go to the New World and fight against Whitebeard and the other Yonko and risk his life every single day. So he set up shop in the East as like a big fish in a small pond.
Ah, excellent. This is happening again, is it? Lovely. I look forward to more interruptions. So to carry on, for the 16th most worthless pirate in the series, we discover Captain Blue Jam with an intriguing number of 14.3 million berries. Intriguing because with bounties this low, we usually don't see these strange fractional amounts like a 0.3 because generally nobody cares. But some marines somewhere did deem Blue Jam enough of a threat for that additional 300,000 berries, and to be fair, Blue Jam is a pretty scary pirate for East Blue, and other than perhaps Arlong, I would much rather run into any other East Blue pirate before Blue Jam. So I suppose that factor alone is enough to elevate him from 15th place, where we have to dig deep into our pit of humiliation to discover a mole person, Drophy to be precise, and Miss Merry Christmas to be less precise. Whatever we happen to call her, this former Baroque Works member is worth a mere 14 million berries. No fractions, no nothing except 14 million berries, I suppose, and that is, well, it's just not enough, is it? Although I would argue that Drophy has done quite well for what life has, gifted her. Not many people could have done better with mole powers, except for perhaps the Dirt Boss from Godatsu's cover story, which, as his name implies, he is a boss, and Drophy is not. So a much better use of innate mole nature there. But moving into number 14 now, we have a character who is far too awesome to be on a list like this, but sadly, let's all say hi to Geen, who predictably was not worth quite as much as his captain Don Krieg, and clocks in with 12 million berries. Although I have to say, I think Geen was done just a little bit dirty here. Honestly, one of the best non-Straw Hat fighters in the entire East Blue saga, and it would have been really interesting to see him go up against, say, the Oolong Pirates, but, well, we got what we got. And what Geen got was sweet F.A., except for poison, lots of poison. But now let's head straight into number.
And now for the 13th place. Woohoo! That one guy from the Don Quixote Pirates, Macvice? Anyone? Hey, congrats. You made it to 13, my dude, probably because you worked under the great Chad that is Doflamingo. You even got a ranking. Anywho, Macvice is an officer for the Diamante army with a bounty of 11 million berries with the abilities of the Tun fruit, so he can get really, really heavy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But he wears a red hat.
I mean, that was kind of fair enough. I also happen to believe that the only way to make Macvice in any way interesting is just to talk about Doflamingo instead. But to lower ourselves further down the ladder of less than desirables, in number 12 we have another tie, this time between Gem and Wellington, both of whom are worth a nice round 10 million berries. Round, but small. Kind of like testicles, really. And these two certainly would make a fantastic pair of balls within the One Piece world. Gem is better known as Mr. 5, as well as the dude who heavily misuses a pretty wildly powerful devil fruit, whereas Wellington you'll probably be unfamiliar with, but he's the guy who attacked Trafalgar Law and Baby 5 as children. Although at the very least, Wellington did not lose to the two children, which is honestly not something that every contender on this list can claim. Potential spoilers for our 4th place finisher there. Before that though, our egregious 11th place finishers will be yet another tie consisting of 1, 2 Django and Karubi of the Oolong Pirates, both of whom somehow squeezed out a participation award in the form of 9 million berries. Because 9 million is very much the number where you have to go, look, yeah, you tried. It's not 10 million, but you did run in the race, so good on you. And Django, yeah, I can sort of understand. Let's face it, he's a weirdo. I find it hard to believe that Karubi is not judged as more of a threat than Django, though. Not that it really matters, because in the grand scheme of things, it's like measuring 2 ants when you really should be focused on the incoming pride of lions. However, we are indeed going to continue our measuring, and slightly smaller ants appear in 10th place, another tie by the way, featuring Hart-chan and Higuma, sporting a bounty of 8 million berries apiece. Higuma is of course best known as the man who is eaten by a fish, and Hart-chan is known as the fish who eats other fish. I mean, yes, he is an octopus, I suppose, but he does make a living cooking other octopi, which surprisingly is but one of many instances of troubling cannibalism in our family-friendly One Piece. However, only slightly related to cannibalism, we have.
What's up, you guys? Sierra the Goat, and I'm here to tell you who's in 9th place on the list. We have Dawn Island, resident mountain bandit boss Curly Dadan. Dadan lives on Mount Klubo near the Fuchsia village, probably because she was chased out of the village by the villagers. She is the boss of the mountain bandit family and a wanted criminal, with a 7.8 million berry bounty. For what, we are not really sure. We know it's probably a bunch of petty crimes like stealing, but she does come across big and scary. Even with her masculine looks, she is at heart a genuine female motherly figure, especially to Ace, Luffy, and Sabo. She seems kind of cowardly when it comes to Garp. She stood up and fought with Ace, and together they defeated Blue Jam, a notorious pirate. And I know for a lot of One Piece fans, this orange curly-haired lady is a character that we all love.
That's right, impromptu interrupting my video, Sierra. Dadan is cool. But to proceed netherward, we hit an immovable object in 8th place, being Mikita, or Miss Valentine, who commands a very disappointing bounty of 7.5 million berry things. In Mikita's defense, though she never wanted to be a pirate, her true dream in life was to become a chocolate chocolatier, which is why her codename is Miss Valentine's Day. And I don't know, expecting a chocolate smith to just abandon all of their hopes and dreams to become a world-renowned super pirate, well, it just doesn't seem very realistic, does it? Although to be fair, it most certainly did work for most of the Big Mom pirates, so I guess I stand corrected. Mikita, I'm afraid that your failings are all your own. But as for those who failed together, we now stumble upon the Meow Band brothers in 7th place, who feature a combined bounty of 7 million berries. Now, combined bounties are rare, but they do happen. The more famous and impressive example would be Dory and Broggy, who had a dual bounty of 200 million berries, meaning that they were worth 100 million each on their own. Now, sadly, if we apply that exact same mathematical formula to the Meow Band brothers, that means that they are both worth 3.5 million berries on their own, or even worse, maybe Butchie is worth 6 million berries and Sham is worth 1 million, if anything. And I say that due to the fact that, look, we all know that Sham is the dead weight of this team, don't we? Because when your outfit consists of white high socks, short shorts, and a crop top, well then I'm afraid that you have already lost the battle that is life. But for 6th place, it is Fish O'Clock once more, and we now discover our lowest valued fishman in the series, who is of course Chew, barely moving the needle here at all, with a bounty of 5.5 million berries. And Chew is a man who is most notable for being defeated by East Blue Usopp. All it took was a bottle of alcohol, a hammer, a rubber band, and that was the undignified end of Chew. To be fair though, dignity isn't really a concept that is going to be widely applied as we move forward, and a prime example of which.
Well, thank you, Liam. I have an absolute beast of a character for you here. I'll let you guess. Wielding a powerful iron mace. Broad and imposing stature. A power that deflects almost any physical attack. There's only one character in One Piece that has all these features. No, I actually mean a woman. Like, intimidating, toxic personality, a tad overweight, everyone in her crew is kind of scared of her. Who's editing this clip, Liam? Me? Hilarious. Well, the person I'm of course talking about is the Proto-Yonko, Alvida. With a mighty 5 million berry bounty on her head, she's not only the first villain that Luffy has to face in the story, but is also one of the most dislikable characters. Immediately letting us readers know in chapter 2 of the story that not all pirates are gonna be as awesome as Shanks was in chapter 1. Apart from that, Alvida is not only the first female villain in the story, but also the very first female devil fruit user. Her Super Subi no Mi that makes her skin extremely smooth and slippery allows her to change her appearance drastically. Now she's part of Buggy's crew and currently running away from the Marines. This was O'Hara reporting from Tokyo. Back to you, Liam.
Thank you, O'Hara, one of my finest unpaid reporters right there. But now in 4th place, we have the infamous Porchemi, someone who I believe the One Piece podcast once named Porchemi Penis Face, and that's right, you can't unsee it now, can you? And it's not even like a proud phallic nose like, say, Usopp or Kaku, it's just this really sad, small, flaccid nose, which goes quite well with the sad, flaccid bounty of 3.4 million berries. Another strange fractional amount that really does make you wonder if the Marines assigning Porchemi's bounty were just, really bored that day and making up numbers for the hell of it. I guess it doesn't really matter all that much because unlike Wellington, Porchemi did get beaten by 2 times children, which I suppose explains the roughly 7 billion berry gap between their numbers. And I suppose it is nice to have some confirmation that apparently the world government values child violence at roughly 7 million berries. Diving down slightly further now, we find ourselves in 3rd place featuring Babe, also known as Mr. 4, carrying nothing but a baseball bat and 3.2 million berries. Although, if anything, you could potentially make the case that Babe is quite overvalued because he is basically useless on his own. He really does need someone to give him orders. Orders that are processed very, very slowly. Probably roughly the same speed equivalent of a dial-up internet. So if anything, Babe's true value is similar to that of an innate weapon. It could potentially be used for many evil deeds, but the weapon won't cause any harm on its own. With that said, we should probably congratulate Babe because he is officially the lowest non-joke bounty in the series, which is, it's probably not the honor you want, but it's the honor that he shall receive. Which does bring us to number 2, and we have none other than the world's most adorable polar bear waiting for us here, Beppo. And he has an ever so cute bounty of 500 berries, although there's really not much to say about it because it's mostly an extension of a joke from our number 1 contender, who is of course Tony Chopper. Sporting by far far the lowest bounty in the series of a mere 100 berries. Sadly, our delightful reindeer Doctor is considered a pet of the Straw Hat Pirates and is given this number mostly as a novelty bounty, despite the fact that he is a lean, mean, transformating, potentially awakened machine. Because Monster Chopper will F you up. But I suppose we'll have to wait until the end of Wano to see if Chopper will ever elevate himself out of first place on this particular list. But thank you all once again for putting up with our technical difficulties. We've got them all sorted now, so don't worry, and it will not be a problem going forward.
And if you'd like to examine what Chopper's true bounty should be, then please do check out this video where I add up Chopper's achievements throughout the series and land on a surprisingly large number. But for now, this has been the Grand Line Review, and I look forward to seeing you there.